Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We are live. Low post, mid post, high post, post game sports. What it do, everybody? Make sure y'all hit that like button as y'all come on in here. I got my man. Man, this is an honor, man. I got I got my homie, man. 3 year starter at linebacker at Washington High School. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 year starter. All NIC honorable mention his junior year. Second team All NIC his senior year, which I think was a snub, but we'll get into that later. You dig?
Hmm.
2005 national champion at Grand Valley State University under Brian Kelly. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend, my homie, Corey Boyd. What it do, homie?
How you doing, man? It's great to be on your show. I'm glad to get this kicked off for you.
Hey man, it's great to have you. I really appreciate you for your time. So, you know how I like to do it. You there?
Yep.
You know how I like to do it. I like to start from the beginning. So, take me back to the beginning, bro. How'd you get into football? What attracted you to the game? Was it something like where your father or somebody put you on to the game, or were you naturally drawn to it at a young age? Take me back, bro.
So it's kind of a really good question because just trying to think back, it seemed like as a kid, like I just did everything. Like I played football, baseball, basketball, like anything like I could do outside with my dad or anything like that. Like we'd be doing something, being active, and I think I don't really know what kind of got me into football. I think like maybe because I like being rough. So I think like when I first got the pads on and stuff as a kid, you're like you wanted to pop somebody, and when you finally did, you're like, oh, like I just put them on their back. Like that's a good feeling. So it kind of just blossomed from there. And but even it probably sounds weird, but like as a kid, like I would um, play in the backyard with the dog. And so growing up, like I would, throw the ball like over my shoulder and then I'd catch the ball and then I'd have to like juke the dog. And half the time the dog always brought me down. But you know what I mean? Like it just helped become like more elusive and like it's dumb stuff like that that you don't really think like helped you. You just thought you were playing around in the backyard with the dog, but really like that kind of stupid stuff really went a long way. And growing up, I always played running back and wide receiver. And up until middle school, I started playing wide receiver, and then they had me at like corner, and then they had me all over in middle school. And then once I got to high school, then I was like wide receiver, linebacker, and then I liked keeping, I like being on defense and hitting people, so I just found a home at linebacker.
Did you play Pop Warner ball?
Yeah, I played. I'm trying to think of what grade I played, but I played for the Vikings when I was, I don't know, I want to say like third, fourth, fifth grade, somewhere in there. And I had played, I think 3 or 4 years, or no, 3 years, Pop Warner before I went to middle school.
Got you, got you, got you. So you end up going to Washington High School, class of '05, ever onward. You know, you know how we get down.
Hmm.
Um, take me back to your freshman year. Um, let's talk about your first experience putting on the pads and playing against bigger, older, more physical players. How the game was different from playing in middle school and Pop Warner.
Gotcha. So, um,
1 second. Let me get Corey back up here. You there, bro?
Yeah, sorry about that. What all did you get out of that?
Man, I don't know. It stopped as soon as you started talking.
Oh,
But
did it?
yeah, go ahead, bro. We good.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying, like, what was kind of interesting to think back to that time period was what made everything more nerve-wracking was just the environment, because you're going, like, at this point you're like, oh, I'm going against, instead of going against kids your age or maybe a year older, you're going against kids that are 4 years older than you, and um, being always kind of being undersized, I felt like I always had to have that dog in me. So um, going against bigger people, like, I guess, like, I always understood, like, how to size somebody up, like, kind of look at their body and decide, like, this is even before, like, this is just like walking around, like, you just kind of size everybody up. You're like, okay, your legs ain't that big. Like, I know if I hit you in your thighs or midsection, I can drive you down that way. Or if it's somebody that's built like a tank, you're gonna have to go a lot lower just to take their wheels out. So it's just kind of, things like that. And like I said, going back, I think it was just the environment, if anything, made it nerve wracking. Not so much like I wasn't nervous at all. Like, and I kind of felt like as a freshman, we weren't really going to go against varsity too much. But I know going back towards the end of my freshman year, they started sprinkling me in with varsity, and I was tackling people like Jeff Peach, Robert Hyde, guys that were a lot bigger than me at that point. And it was only just a confidence booster. I'm like, hey, I can hang with varsity as a freshman.
Hmm. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, during those 4 years at Washington, I've always felt like we had a lot of talent. But one of the things was we had three different coaches in 4 years, right?
Yep.
Talk about that and how it maybe affected our overall success as a team.
So I know, I like, even to this day, I've always felt like if we had Dustin Gill as our coach, that was our coach our freshman year. Um, I feel like we could have done a lot of damage, especially our junior year, because our junior year we had a really good defense, and I feel like if we had Mike Martin and Clayton Bush, those guys were, both of those, like, being a linebacker. Like, when I saw them in the backfield, I'm like, God damn it, man! Like, because if you don't get ready for Mike, he'll bowl you over, and if you don't take the right angle on Clayton Bush, he's gone.
Oh yeah.
So it would have just been, you know, it would have just we would have had a really good team our junior year. But I will say that, like, sophomore junior year, when we got Brian Kinsey, I will say those were probably the two, like, most fun years that I had. I mean, even though we were only like South Bend good, if anything, um, like, we did. We lost a lot, but I feel like we had a lot of fun, and like, we made a lot of friendships, and still to this day I'm still friends with a lot of people from that team in those years. And senior year, um I I was like so excited for senior year, because I'm like, this is my last year. I want to show out. I want to get noticed. I want to play at the next level. And I think that our culture as a team, like, really changed dramatically. Like, we had somebody that was pretty loose, lackadaisical, not lackadaisical, but somebody that was kind of just easygoing. And, then we go to somebody that was like very, like, not a player's coach. I don't know how to put it any better than that, but not approachable, not listening. Like, we ran, in my opinion, I can't remember the style of the offense, but it was almost like that wing T bullshit. And to me, that was so outdated. And for the school, the school that we went to, and the type of players that we had, like, we should have had some kind of spread offense, which I feel like they went to after he had left. because we just get our athletes in space, and instead he just wanted to bunch everybody up, double tights and two wings and a running back, and I'm like, okay, this ain't the this ain't the '70s no more, you know.
Bro, we gonna cook on his weird ass. But going back, going back to your sophomore and junior years under Brian Kinsey, rest his soul. You said we had a lot of fun those years. I know I wasn't a part of the sophomore team, but I think I joined the team junior year. So I remember that vividly. And we had a lot of fun. Can you talk about that song?
So, so junior year, I don't know if you remember this, but uh like some of the fondest memories I have was like two a days, because every two a days, or in between practice, we would go in the baseball dugout and we would just have our lunch and everybody would just be kicking it in there. And this is like before like we just had like those Nokia cell phones and stuff. Like I don't know if certain businesses, where I'm going with this.
Yes, sir.
we we used to we used to prank call like all the restaurants like in the area. And I remember you called Pizza Hut on Western, and you gave them the Papa John's phone number, and then you called Papa John's and gave them the Pizza Hut phone number. And then back then we thought, we're like, oh man, they're gonna deliver pizzas to each other and get all pissed off and start a fight. But really, they probably just saw the address. Yeah, okay. But to be honest with you, to this day, I still think about like what whatever happened with that. Like, did they really follow through with that, or?
Man,
But
I don't know. I just know we had a lot of fun, like you were saying. But go ahead.
but no, like I mean, it was just always just we'd play. I don't want to say we'd play hard, because yeah, that's the whole goal of it. But there were times like we got to have fun and we got to do stupid stuff, and just like, I don't know, even going back to like, I don't know if you remember, but like the music back then, like, because there was like a lot of Little John going around, the East Side Boys back then, like at that time period. And so that like crunk shit was like, that was hype. So listening to that before a game, like even like just tying that into that whole like time period, like that was just a blast to me.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, man. Um, so after the junior year, Coach Kinsey and the staff gets terminated. I think our principal, athletic director, whoever made the call to hire Frank Amato was just probably the worst hire they've made in their career. Like you said, the culture completely changed. He was a hard guy to approach. His style of offense and defense were outdated. I think he messed up a lot of the relationships and careers of some of the young, talented athletes that we had at Washington. And I'm just gonna say it, bro. Coach Amato was an asshole. He was a terrible hire. He wasn't a good fit for what we had at Washington. So I just would like your thoughts on that particular hire.
Um, so I think, like, I try to think of it from two perspectives, because I remember we brought this up a while back. And I mean, you put yourself in the principal and the athletic director's shoes, and on paper, he looked like a winner. He'd won state, at St. Joe, I want to say in the '90s. So he has that proven track record that he can win and get the job done. But I guess like as I got older, when it comes to high school sports, like if you have two or three D1 athletes, like it's almost like your team is like guaranteed to go to state or at least make a deep run in the playoffs, because they're so much better than all the talent. And so it's but then you come back to a player standpoint and like from my perspective, I was like, okay, he's gonna, when he first got hired, I was like, okay, he sounds like, I mean, he obviously knows what he's doing. He won state. You can't take that from him. But um, once see like and I'll get real, like um, after having two different head coaches in 3 years, and this is my fourth coach or my third coach in 4 years, at that point I'm like, okay, here's another coach that you have to impress. You have to come in and do all the right things, say all the right things, and kind of get like on their good side to get, playing time or just get noticed and, get your goals and aspirations out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how many people like really know this, but maybe like a couple of my like close friends. I don't know if you know this, but because we were having like conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden like I was getting so tired, like I was gonna pass out. But I was like, it's a new coach. I got to be first in line. I got to be the first, across the finish line when we do sidelines or whatever. So I would like go and I'd run, I'd cross the line, and then I'd take a knee, and I just closed my eyes and I felt myself like drifting off, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I'd hear like, all right, linebackers, running backs, this and that, and I'd get up there and get ready to run. Come to find out, like I was still like I had mono,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the doctor, and my doctor like tested my liver or something, and he said, it's not inflamed and I feel okay with letting you practice. um Initially I missed two practices, like I want to say like two of the first, like that first week, but even then when I came back I still was like busting my ass and still trying to um like I said, be first in, crossing the line and, doing, like I said, doing everything right, saying everything right. And I honestly felt like it was taken out on me. Like, um, I wasn't looked at for, hey, like, Boyd, come up here, do this, or Boyd, do this, or, I wasn't really like held to that. I felt like I was on a shit list. And I'm like, how can I pull myself out of this when um I had no control over fucking having mono, you know?
Right. Right.
So, and I don't know if you know this either, but they did not keep defensive stats our senior year.
No, I didn't know that.
You did or did not?
I did not.
Yeah. So, because I was trying to break I think it was solo tackles record or total tackles record, like career. And I knew that I was close going into senior year. And then I think like halfway through, like I was kind of like, hey, what's going on with stats and stuff? Like, and I know this probably makes me sound like I'm selfish and stuff, but I mean, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, like that was the goal. Like I wanted to break a record. I wanted my name to be on the wall. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not like I'm doing it for glory. Like it was just a goal that I had for myself. And then come to find out that defensive stats were not kept. That more than anything, I just was like sad because I'm like, I've been doing all this work and I, have this, resume, this body of work for 2 years, and it goes for nothing. Like, so, um, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to say it pisses me off, but like more than anything, I was just sad because I'm like, you stole that from me, and you don't really like, you don't know me. You didn't know what I did before, and when I brought it up to him, he just kind of was like, you don't need to worry about stats. You need to be worrying about like this and other stuff. And I'm like, but like, as a 17-year-old kid, you're afraid to tell your coach stuff like, like, well, I disagree, but as an adult, I'm like, you know, I would have just been like, dude, like that meant a lot to me, and you robbed me of that. So, um, but like I said, like we've said, as a culture, it changed, and it was not. That was my least favorite year. Like it felt like a chore. I felt like every time I'd go out there, I'd just be like, here we go again. Like you never. Yeah, I remember I jumped off sides one time in practice, and he was like, you know, you're a big critic. He like pulled me off to the side and was like, you're a big critic of me. and I hear like everything you say, and you're gonna go and do stupid stuff like this, and how can I back you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we did not have we did not have a good relationship. Even
Right.
before one of the games, I think it was our senior year, I was trying to tell somebody, I was talking football with somebody, and then he like got mad at me and started like and stared me down. And like we both like I didn't look away. Like I was like, I'm not intimidated by you. Like I know it sounds like petty and all that stuff, but like it just,
I remember that. I remember y'all
yeah.
sitting up and you did not blink.
Yeah. But like I said, it just, you know, I felt like I was on his shit list for something out of my control. And I took that really personal because it's like, it's one thing if like, I'd have been jacking around and just not came to practice and, was doing other things like, bad things or whatever. But I legit had mono and don't know how I got it. Obviously I'm not trying to get mono. So I don't know. It just kind of, that left a sour taste in my mouth. Um,
No doubt.
so
I think a lot of the players that year would say the same. So
mhm.
your senior year, man, and I mean, I got a sideline view of you, and it's like we would head into the locker room at halftime. You would have close to 20 tackles already. Um, you make second team All NIC that year. Everybody on the team just knew you were first team.
Mhm.
Did it make you feel some kind of way when you got the news that you only made second team?
Uh, I would be lying if I said I wasn't upset. And I'm not, I'm not gonna name like any names. Like, I mean, the guys that got first team for our team, they deserved it. They were good players. They busted their ass too, but yeah, I still feel like that whole second team snub kind of went back to the having mono, staring him down, like all that little stuff. I felt like it was just kind of like a throw, kind of like, you made all NIC, you should be happy with that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, again, I was, I had a goal for myself. That was one of the things, I wanted to be the league MVP and I wanted to be first team all NIC. But so yeah, like when I saw the newspaper, and because I remember I'll never forget, it was like a Thursday morning, and I opened up the paper, and you know how they always had all the pictures of everybody in
Yeah.
there. And yeah, I was like going through, and of course Washington was like one of the last the last schools that had people on there. But I'm going row by row, and then I was like, oh wow, like I really did not make first team. And then I was like second team. I'm like, all right. And then I mean, thankful that I made second team, but like I said, I had personal goals for myself that I always wanted to achieve above and beyond. So, I wasn't, as a player and as a person, I wasn't happy with second team.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. There's a lot of people that believe you deserve first team. A lot of people think it was a layup.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? So, from the bottom of our hearts, class '05, Coach Frank Amato, fuck you. Hey, man, was it true that he didn't vote for you? He didn't give you a first team vote?
I I've never heard that, but to be honest, I wouldn't doubt it because I know my dad talked to he knew some coaches for other teams, and like I think it was Marion especially, like he said that he voted for me first team, their head coach. So I would assume that, I'm not gonna say I would assume, I would think that, yeah, I mean based on everything like I've laid out, the way that our relationship was, I don't think it wouldn't surprise me, I'll put it that way, if he didn't give me a first team vote.
Got you, got you. So moving on, man. You had a stellar career at Washington High School. You're very exciting to watch as a linebacker, especially for your size, man. It kind of put me in the mind of Bob Sanders, former
Yeah.
safety, former safety of the Indianapolis Colts. But going to your recruitment process is something that you kind of kept quiet. You really didn't speak too much about your recruitment process, but can you take us through that?
Yeah, so it's kind of it was a weird like scenario or time. Like because like I said, I knew I wanted to play at the next level. I felt like I was capable of playing at the next level. But I had like offers, I don't want to call them offers, but I had um other I had colleges like looking at me, and they were from all different spectrums. Like I had Manchester, Anderson, Hanover, and then I had Tiffin, Grand Valley State, and then I had a couple from like, and see, like I don't know if these are from schools that like, because I mean we did reach out to other schools too, and so I had a letter from like Ball State. I went to Miami, Ohio's football camp, and that was one that I was like really hoping that kind of would come through and be my next home. And but I remember like eh, and we can touch on this later, like kind of like just remind me like when we get to Grand Valley, like why I left Grand Valley and kind of how it opened my mind up to a lot of things like football related. But at Miami, Ohio, like I felt like we had like running back and linebacker drills, and it was just helmets, like helmets and shorts and all that, and no shoulder pads. But like I felt like I was hanging with all these other these other kids from all these other schools, and then I would go, um, like after the practices and stuff, I'd see all the coaches like that were there going to all these other kids and talking to them, and I'm like, man, what the hell? Like, what do I got to do? But like I said, we can touch a little bit, like because like once that door was opened or that curtain was peeled back at Grand Valley, like it kind of made me understand why everything kind of happened the way it did.
Got you, got you, got you. So you end up choosing, uh, what is it called? Grand Valley State University
Yes,
under head coach Brian Kelly, the
I
former.
I gotta correct you that I was not under Brian Kelly. Kelly
Oh,
was
okay.
Kelly was 1 year removed, so he left in '03. My head coach started in '04, and then I went there in '05. So when I went there, it was his second full year. And coincidentally, he's the head coach of Miami, Ohio football right now.
Got you, got you, got you. Okay, okay. So you go to Grand Valley. Um, talk about your career there, how the game was different. You switched from linebacker to safety, correct?
Yeah, it was more like a nickel, so I was more like outside, like a corner linebacker hybrid.
Got you. Just touch on some of the changes for you, how
So
football was different. Go ahead.
no, so Grand Valley was like a massive like upgrade from what I was used to. Everybody like when you're 18, 19, a lot of people there are 20, 21, 22. I don't know how old they go, but um you feel like you're playing against like grown men at this point. And um it was so like the margin for error was so like razor thin, because I'll never forget, like we had 7-on-7, and I dropped back into coverage, and the quarterback he was trying to throw like kind of like a deep out, and I jumped up and the ball went through my hands, but obviously like the receiver didn't catch it, and I'm like, all right, sweet, like they didn't. I stopped him. I made a play. I had two defensive coaches, the defensive coordinator and my position coach, come up running up to me, and they just started talking mad shit. And they were in my face. They were like, "You piece of shit! You gotta have that. We can't have this shit. Get your fucking ass out of here!" And I had to go. I had to go sit. Like I was like, oh man, like I made a good play. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, you go sit your ass on the bench. Um, but I think, like brutally honest, the competition, like Grand Valley was probably more, I bit off more than I could chew. Um, because like being like undersized, and I think at that level, I needed to have a deeper level of fundamentals, like better at hand battling, better at shedding blocks, other than just like ripping and just kind of juking the linemen. Not reading my keys, like, as a linebacker, when I got to that level, it was almost like I had to switch my mind to I had to read my keys from the guard. And it's like if your first step, like if that lineman's first step is at you, and your first step is, either like not moving or back, you go sit your ass on the bench. Like it has to be like it's almost like you have to be damn near perfect every time. And I think that's where a lot of the stuff caught up with me is, like I'd get caught up in hand battling, or I'd get my shoulders turned, or I wouldn't, set the edge. Like, because growing up, I was always taught, you go make the tackle, you go make the play, no matter how you get there. So even like at Grand Valley, like there's sometimes like like this is like October when I started kind of getting the hang of it, like getting out there, if they're doing like a screen, just getting out there to set the edge. Or if my guard pulled, I have to meet him out there to make the running back cut back inside to the weak side linebacker. And then that's when they were like, great play, great play. And in my head, I'm like, I didn't make the tackle. How is this a great play? But just learning to play assignment football instead of this kind of like ragtag, like make the tackle, make the interception, make the sack, like it was just a completely different mindset. And so and plus the game was just so fast. Like, you know, if you didn't communicate like right before that snap and you weren't sure of your coverage, somebody's going to be wide ass open and you're going to get your ass chewed out.
Right,
So,
right. So, what made you choose uh, that particular college? Did it come down to, okay, this is the biggest offer I have, or was there anything else?
so I chose Grand Valley because in high school, I don't even think we won 10 games like my whole like 4 years there. And I wanted to go somewhere because I just wanted to win. I wanted to feel, winning. And this goes back to even Pop Warner. Like the best record I think I ever had in Pop Warner was like 0-4-4, where we had no wins, we had 4 losses, and we had 4 ties. And so, just I never knew what it was like to win. And so, just being a part of like a winning culture, and just seeing how these kind of dudes operate, because um I think because I had a couple of offers because I know Manchester, Anderson both wanted me, and then Tiffin, like I was kind of back and forth with them, and then Grand Valley kind of came out of nowhere, and it was like they didn't offer money, because it at the D2 level, I'm not sure how it works now, but they only offered, and this is like learning this when I after I'd been there for a while, like only senior, like some seniors got like half tuition, or half like a full ride. I don't know what you want to call it. But then there were certain guys that they had like they were D1 transfers, and they would go get them and they would give them the full rides. So like to get a full ride at D2 back then, you kind of had to be like somebody that was kind of like, not good at a D1 level and somehow got noticed by like a bigger D2 school, or you just happen to live in that area and you were close to home. So I don't think, I mean, I really don't remember, but I don't know of any. I think there was like maybe 2 freshmen that had some, like they just paid for books or, tuition. Like nobody got like a full ride.
So, like partial scholarships.
Yes,
Gotcha, gotcha. So you end up winning a national championship your freshman year,
correct.
and then going into your sophomore season. Correct me if I'm wrong. You suffer a devastating injury.
So it's kind of a little bit of, it was like a mixture of things. So we had won the national championship, and probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. Just knowing that we were the best team, we went undefeated. Getting to travel and to run out on the field and celebrate and like all that stuff, and getting a ring with your name on it, like it's a great feeling. Then the winter semester had started, and I had continued, working out and stuff, and we like the level of conditioning was insane because you would just like basically run in circles, and that was your calisthenics. Like you never really stopped, and then it's like, okay, now the drills are starting. So like 12 minutes in, you've completely like nonstop ran, and now it's like, okay, now we're getting into drills, and you're just drained. But when I was doing hang clean, or no, not hang cleans, bent over rows, and I had this pain in my lower back, and this is probably like bad form because of fatigue. Um, like it tightened up, and I had to go like lay on a bench. Like I dropped the weight, and I was like, oh my God, like it felt like my upper body and lower body were like disconjoined. So then for a few days after that, like it continued to hurt, and I was going to see the trainer, and I really don't remember like any kind of stuff to, they didn't give me nothing for pain or, stretching or physical therapy or nothing like that. But then it just came to a point when I was kind of like, I saw that, and this is part of the business, it's, or the belly of the beast. Like they were bringing in like a bunch of other linebackers that were way bigger than me. And we already had like, I was towards the farther end of the depth chart on the linebacker side. And they had this one guy, like they pegged, for him to be like the guy. And I remember I always loved going against him in drills because I would light him up, or, I would get, we had this like alligator thing where you had to fight over a towel, and like you had to lay on your back. And I remember like I got the towel, and he couldn't, like he had no room to get it from me. Like it was just any way I could be like an asshole, like in these little drills. But it was never like good job Boyd. It was always bad job Fluter. So I'm like, it's like I feel like no matter what, like I can't get ahead here. So we had a meeting with the head coach at the time, and I still have the utmost respect for him because he was just like, really like we don't have a place, for you to start. He's like, and so he was like, you can stay a part of the team, but the best you'll probably do is like special teams, maybe get in here and there, like type deal. And I was like, this isn't like, like we're both competitors. Like you don't want to be told you're a backup or that you're not going to play. And so that kind of just like crushed me like mentally. And I'm like, well, I just don't even want to play anymore. Cause it's like, if I'm not good enough here, why would I go somewhere else? And then, the same thing happens. And I'm like, well, how good was I really? You know what I mean? So it was just like mess with me like mentally. So I was like, I'm out of here. And going back to what I was gonna say earlier was that, and this is what kind of tipped me to the business of football, was we had a tackle, or no, he was a tight end, and I think they moved him to tackle. And he said, I'll never forget in that meeting with the coach, he said, this guy is, 6'6", 270. He's like, we got to put some weight on him, but he's got the NFL mold, and we can get him to the NFL. And so I'm like, okay, that made me think back to like Miami, Ohio. And I'm like, oh, all these guys were, they just had the body type. Like, they had the God given stuff. They were like, as long as you're, if you're a linebacker, you're 6'4", 220, we can teach you how to be a linebacker, but we need you to be this size. So that's when it kind of hit me like, oh, this is it's not a talent, thing. It was more of like just completely like undersized. And when I got to Grand Valley, I remember I went against one guy he got no, I think he got picked up by Green Bay. So you're going against like, and he was like 6'8". He was All American. Like, so you're going against some of the best at this level. So, and then I don't know if you knew, but you remember Brandon Carr, right?
Absolutely, that dude was fast.
Yeah, I played with him my freshman year.
Wow, I didn't know
He,
that.
yep, he started as a true freshman, and I mean, obviously he was legit because he got drafted by the Chiefs in the fifth round of like '09, I think.
Mhm. Got you, got you. So, talk about how your mindset, your mentality, the wear and tear of the sport, and learning that there was a business side to it. So you leave the school before your sophomore year starts, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, talk about your mentality. Were you just done with football? Were you planning to go elsewhere? What was it?
So, I after like I transferred back home because I think the most weird thing was that I didn't have like older people around me, like older brothers type that kind of could help prepare me mentally for this kind of stuff. Like, because I never thought of anything past like football. I was always like, I'm gonna play football. I'm gonna go college somewhere, and um, I'm just gonna play in college. And if anything else ever after that happens, it happens. But I always had it in my head that I was gonna play somewhere. And then after leaving after 1 year, that was kind of like my identity. It was like my identity was always like, oh, Boyd, he's a football player, like that kind of thing. But um, so it I didn't know. I just wanted to like hide like in a hole for a while until I figured myself out. So, because I didn't want to be seen back home, and then everybody's like, "I thought you were playing football," which that did happen, and I had to answer those questions. And at 19, you don't like admitting that you weren't good enough, or you couldn't hack it, or you couldn't cut it. Like now, I'm more open and brutally honest about everything. But back then, this you didn't. I didn't know how to handle those kinds of things and thoughts and stuff like that. So my thing was just like hide out until it's been a while and people just don't remember, you know. But it goes back to the coach saying, about that guy being that tall and weighing that much. And you got to think about it. These coaches, this is their job. They have to put this isn't high school where it's like, hey, everybody gets equal playing time. This is their ass. And so, they're like, hey, we got to play Boyd because he's from Indiana and let's just, let's make it nice for him. Like, no, like if he's not good enough, we're not going to fucking play him. So, um, from a, like, that's when it kind of hit me that this is a business and these coaches, like, as much as they like to make it seem like, oh, we're all in this together. Like at the end of the day, like they're trying to get to the next level too. So it's like they, use you. You're just like a sponge. Like they'll soak you up, teach you what you need to, make you good, and then ride you out, squeeze all the juice out of you, and then that'll get them to the next level, which for them probably would be like one double A, or if you're an assistant, or at least a coordinator position, or if you're the head coach, go to a D1 school as a position coach or a coordinator. So um, like I said, it was kind of, it's just different to think of football as a business as opposed to growing up where you're just like, football is a sport and it's fun, and you know, you get to be with your friends and do these things that you enjoy. And then now it's like, no, this is a business, and people's livelihoods are on the line if you don't produce or if they don't produce.
Yep, yep. Post game sports, low post, mid post, high post. Y'all know how we do it. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel to get more post game. So, who are the top five players that you played with? Those 4 years at Washington High School, man, name me the top five players that played with you on
Mm. So you're just high school, right?
Just that team through those 4 years, bro.
Best. Well, that's a tough question. Do you want them in order or just like can I just name 5 people that I thought were really good?
Just the top 5 players on those teams.
All right. I mean, obviously, like Shrek, Jason sticks out just because he was, 6'4". He's 220.
Awesome. Yeah,
The
he's
pro
awesome.
he's the prototype. And I think like when we were at IUSB, he said he was running like a 4.5 or something like that. So you know, he was he's a monster. So um, then I would say the second would probably be Clayton Bush. Like I know I brought him up earlier, but the dude was just like I don't even know how tall would you say he was? Like 5'10", 6 foot, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that sounds
But
about right.
his stride was so insane. Like to try and like tackle him from sideline to sideline, like you'd have to somehow get in front of him and hope he doesn't cut back, by you over pursuing. um, Trying to think. I know I named uh Mike Martin just because he's like a great high school like fullback. Just
Hmm.
because like he was just like every time I tackled him, like I had to hit him like at knee level, and I had to have like my body weight forward because if you don't, like he's gonna truck you. And back then, like with Madden and truck stick, like you don't want to get trucked, and then everybody that's all everybody remembers. So
Was he your toughest running back matchup in practice?
yeah, like I'll admit, like I hate those two, but especially Martin because I mean he's fullback, so he's gonna go between the center and guards every time. So and that's my area too. So um I would say I would say I always thought Hanif Muhammad was legit. Like he was a great athlete if you got him out in space. Do you remember him?
I do. I do.
And then lastly, oh, lastly, I would say Jeff Peach. Not because
Hmm.
that's my boy, but we like he was another one too that if I saw him in the backfield, I'm like, man, because he was good. Like he was so shifty, and I don't know if you ever watched him do the speed ladder, but just him doing like he was kind of like Le'Veon Bell before Le'Veon Bell, but he had the size. Like he was like 180, 190 when we were in high school, and he was fast. So it's kind of like do you hit the hole hard? But then he'll move, then he'll just kind of get behind linemen and go to a different direction because he was shifty. Or do you kind of wait back, and then if you wait back, he just blasts through the hole, and then he meets you like by the time you make contact, he's already at 5 yards. So I would say those are probably the. I feel like I'm probably forgetting people,
Man,
but
it was so many. It was so many, but that's a hell of a list.
mhm.
I think Peach was a good basketball player too, man. I believe
Yeah.
he started for the basketball team also.
Who did?
Peach,
I don't think he ran track. I don't think he played basketball.
yeah, he played basketball. I'm pretty sure of it.
I have to. I don't remember.
Or it could have been another one. I
But
don't know.
I'll
It's
take
been
your word for it. Yeah.
years. So man, in closing, man, I know you a family man, and I respect that. You got responsibilities, but I truly do appreciate you taking time to hang with me and chop it up on post game sports. Uh, what do you make of the Fighting Irish this year? We both 5'7" 4" boys coming up on the west side. Both you know, Washington Panthers, but we're avid Notre Dame fans.
hmm
Uh, what do you think about the hiring of Coach Freeman and the prospects of their season this year?
So, I was I was excited that they hired Freeman, And I was actually during the season, I was kind of like thinking this is like the Wisconsin game of last year. I was like, man, if Brian Kelly like retired or if he left, like I would want Freeman to replace him. And I said this to people, like I wish I still had the tax equipment. But based on his recruiting and his background, like winning a national championship, all that, like the dude knows what it takes. So, um, what he's already got the number one class for 23, and he's in the top three for 24. And that's kind of like unheard of for us for the past like 10 years, 12 years.
Hey Corey, your mic's off. Your mic is out of whack. Did you do something?
Am I good?
Oh, you good now. Go ahead.
Okay. What all did you get out of that?
You were saying something about the text that you wish you still had. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, because I was saying I was still kind of in on Freeman. Like I wanted Freeman to be the coach before. Like I was thinking to myself, if Kelly ever left, I'd be like, man, I hope we get Marcus.
Hold on, bro. You sound like a robot.
How about now?
All right, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like. So
that's perfect. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like, I was just hoping that I didn't think Kelly would leave because I worked with somebody and they were like, Brian Kelly said he wants to retire from here, and all that. And to be honest though, like I'm kind of glad he was gone. I feel like we had reached our ceiling with Brian Kelly, and there were some things I read about, like when he would do recruiting, like he wouldn't go to like some of the big recruits like Holmes. It would just be assistants. And then these players were coming out saying like, well, Nick Saban came to my house and Jimbo Fisher came to my house. Like, why couldn't Brian Kelly come to my house? So it's kind of stuff like that kind of made me feel like how, he was just doing the minimum. But I was always partial because he's a Grand Valley guy. And I met him before and he was really cool. But at the end of the day, I think it was time for him to go. But I'm not sad that he's gone. But my expectations are, I think, like, to be realistic as Notre Dame fans, I think we need to lower our expectations. Like, we're probably going to lose some of those close games this year. Maybe 3 to 4 losses. But, next year, I think hopefully year 2 and 3, we'll see tremendous strides. Because my biggest fear is that Freeman will have this phenomenal recruiting classes, and then after year 3, like he's going to be like 500, and they're going to be like, hey, he's got to go. And then the next coach comes in, and kind of like Charlie Weiss, where he had all these great recruits for his first 2 years, and then it looks like, no, he's the savior, but really Freeman set the groundwork for that coach, which I hope Freeman's around for a long time.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm really excited with the work he's doing thus far. Recruiting is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting some really talented players, and to be honest, bro, I like our depth now.
Yeah.
Especially on the offensive, defensive line. I think we got some good depth. The offense is our quarterback play is what has to be proven. And if Tyler Buckner is up to par, I think they can exceed expectations this year.
Yeah.
Even though I think you're right. Our expectations we should lower them given the situation. But Notre Dame might surprise people this year.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that, hey, we're going to be, 8-3 or 8-2 or whatever. And then we come out and we're like 10-0, 12-0. And they're like, oh, like I didn't see this coming. But, I think the true test, we'll know where we stand after Ohio State, like how good of a team. Because you got to think about it. Like they've had all summer to prepare for Ohio State. So if they come out and lay an egg and get waxed that week 1, is that going to set the tone for the whole year? Like, do doubts set in about Marcus Freeman? Like, is he going to be this phenomenal coach? I don't know. We'll see. So that's why I'm kind of like excited about this year is to see like what do we really have in Freeman in this kind of like New Notre
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Man, we had a lot of wild times, a lot of fun in high school, even in middle school. Fondest memory of us together as we roll out the interview.
Dame. I think I mean we touched on it the other day where where our I think was that seventh grade or eighth grade with the math teacher.
It had to be
I think yeah, I was gonna say I think it was eighth grade. So the eighth grade teacher, math teacher, he was like a sub, and he was this older guy, and he didn't. I don't know what you did, but like it pissed him off or something, and he made the comment about like I can't remember what he said about you. Like, and I feel like he tried to make like a weight joke, but then you came back and said, "Well, if you put Mr. Lehman and a dinosaur on a teeter totter, the dinosaur will be in the air." And like I said, I was trying not to laugh because he was like he like loved me for some reason. So I was afraid if he saw me laughing at because you sat like right in front of me. And if
yeah.
he saw me laughing at you, what you said, he's gonna be like, fuck him, I'm giving him an F, you know. So I just like put my head down and tried to like not like make it look like I was laughing.
Man, yeah, that's definitely a classic,
Or
man.
or or
Go ahead.
or Fat Billy going to
Oh,
Blockbuster.
oh man, man. Oh my goodness, man.
We could go on for days with this stuff.
I gotta say, two of them sticks out to me. Uh, I think the time we were in the dugout during tour days, and I would call like this was our senior year, so I would call the players who had graduated, but my my voice would be Coach Ski's voice. I would tell them all type of wild stuff, and they really thought it was Coach Ski though.
Because you had that shit down to a T though.
Yeah, yeah, and probably, man. Hey, this the homie. Yeah, I love him, but man, the time I left, man, as soon as the water running,
Oh yeah. His dad was real mad about that because he told me about that. Because he was mad because he like, why didn't you tell me that he left the water on? I forgot. Like, because I remember you got like he was talking shit or something. He went in the house because I was giving you both a ride home. And then he just got pissed off and got out the car and turned the his front water on. And they got back in the car and you're like, where go?
oh man, good time,
What
good
about that
time.
time you yelled at Drano?
Oh man, we can't even say that. We can't even talk about that one, bro.
Yeah,
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the platform.
no
You
problem.
know, you got a hell of a story. You know, I think a lot of people are gonna love this one, and keep in touch, bro.
Yep. Yep,
Big
man. Thanks for having me, man. If you ever need anything, just give me a holler. I'll always help.
Oh, no doubt. I appreciate that, bro.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Low post, mid post, high post, post game sports. Interview with Corey Boyd. We out.
Holla at your boy.